All right, so we're on the back of the notes here for part 2. We're up to number 5 here. So let's go ahead and read through this. Ramon scored 81, 93, and 94 on 3 math tests. If he wants his average to be 90, what must he score on his next test? So what I'm going to do here, I like to write things down. We need to write things down. He scores 81, 93, 94. But it says that he wants his average to be 90. What must he score on his next test? So he's taken 3 tests, but he's going to take 1 more. And we're not sure what that is yet, but we do know that his average for all 4 of these will be 90. Okay, so here's what we need to think here. We need to understand what average means. Average is, if we look at somebody's average, that means that basically they get that score every time. That's how it works out. So if your average is 90, if the mean is 90, then basically every time you take a test, in this case, you are scoring 90 points. Now, of course, in reality, you're going to score sometimes above, sometimes below, but what average tells you is basically each of these works out to 90 points if your average is 90. Okay, now, we said Ramon is going to take a 4th test. If we add 90, 90, 90, 90, which is basically what it is happening, if that's his average, if we add those, that's going to add up to 360. Okay, now his real scores are 81, 93, 94, and something, but to have an average of 90, his total has to be 360. So on this 4th test, the question is, can we figure out, I'll call it X, can we figure out what that has to be so that his total is going to get us to 360 points? Well, what we've done is create an equation where 81, 93, and 94, we're going to add those up first. And if we do that, let's see, 90 is 180, plus 80 is 260, and 134 is 8. So we have 268 plus X equals 360. So after 3 tests, his total's 268, but he's got to get up to 360. So to solve this, we're going to subtract 268, because the goal is to get X by itself. So we need to move this number over, move the constant. 268 minus 268 is 0. So I'm going to cross that out. We get X equals, and if we subtract this, what we'll get is 92. So Ramon needs to score 92 so that his average for the 4 tests will be 90% for that. Another way to come up with this, to set up this equation, is if I use the concept of the mean. Average is you add your numbers. Now the 4th number we don't know, but because we're averaging 4 of them, I divide by 4 equals the mean, the average score is 90. So if I had set it up like this, I could have solved it this way, where again I can add my 3 tests so far and get 268. And then I can think of this, I can multiply both sides of the equation by 4, and what we get is 268 plus X, because the 4 divided by 4 reduces to 1. 90 times 4 is 360, and oh, look at that. Now we're in the same place where we were here. So this is a more visual way. You're kind of thinking your way through the problem. This might be a little bit shorter, where you're doing more algebra with that. Okay, so number 6. Now this is the same kind of problem. Go ahead and pause the video, solve it, and see if you agree with what I get. All right, so Allison's scoring average, again, there's that word average, in 6 basketball games is 15 points. So her average is 15. That means that if she plays 6 games, basically she's scoring 15 points every game. If her point totals in the first 5 games were 10, 18, 20, 7, and 11, how many points did she score in her last game? So this is her average for 6 games. Now, if we add that up, her point total is 15, that's 30, plus 30, plus 30. So she scores a 90. Well, again, we have the number 90. That's interesting. She scores 90 points total. 90 points total. Now, that's for 6 games. She's only played 5 games so far. So 10, 18, 20, 7, and 11. How much does she have so far? Well, if we add those up, we get 28, 48, and let's see, that's 55, 66. So she has 66 points so far. So to get up to 90, what's she going to have to get in her next game? Well, we have 66 plus X. That's her score for the 6th game. And we know the total will be 90. So how do we move 66 to the other side? We subtract it. And what we get is X equals, and that would be 24. So how many points did she score in her last game? 24 points. Okay, I'll go ahead and write the word points in there. So again, we're using our knowledge of what an average is and what it basically means to figure out some missing information. All right, so let's look at one more kind of problem here, number 7. These are LeBron James's point totals for his last 8 games. Okay, so there's 8 totals right there. Which statistic, the mean or the median, is greater, and by how much? So there's really 2 parts to this question. First of all, we need to figure out the mean and the median. So if we're going to compare, we need to know what the values are. First thing I want to do is I want to rearrange these in correct order. So the smallest number that he scores, he's got 16, and then 18, and then we get to the 20s. So we have 22, 26, 29, and then we have 33, 34, and 57. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 scores. Okay, we can do the median is the quickest one to do. The median would be to cross off the ends. So 1657, then 1834, then 22 and 33, sorry. And we end up with 2 numbers in the middle. Now the median is actually between them. So the median, I'm going to say MED. If we have 2 numbers, we add them up and divide by 2. We take the average of those. Now this is 55 divided by 2. We're going to get a decimal, 27.5, and that's okay. So that is the median. The median does not have to be one of the numbers in your data set. That's an important concept. It might be, but it doesn't have to be. There's the median. Now, let's see. So what's LeBron James's mean? Well, to find the mean, what we do is we add up all the numbers. Now, obviously, if you have a lot of numbers, you may not write this down, and you may end up using a calculator. The mean is we add up all the numbers and we divide by the number of numbers. Well, we have 8 point totals. In this case, we'll go ahead and use the calculator here. So let me add the numerators, 22, 26, 29, 33, 34, 57. If you are using the calculator, before you hit equals or enter, look at what you typed and make sure that's what you wanted to type. Because if you type the wrong numbers, you will get the wrong answer. So everything looks good, enter. So that's 235. And then I have to divide that by 8. I'm not done. So 235 divided by 8. And what we get is a decimal, 29.375. I'm going to round that to the tenths place. So that would be 29.4. because the next digit, the 7, means I have to round this up. So this is 29.4. That is the mean. All right, now, we haven't answered the question yet. They say, which statistic, mean or median, is greater, and by how much? Well, when you compare these, 29.4 is the bigger number. So the mean is greater. And to find out how much it's greater than, the median, we subtract. So we take the bigger number minus the smaller. And if we do that, we will get 1.9. So the mean is greater by 1.9. And that's it. Okay? So one of the things we want to get to is when we look at data, it's not just calculating data, but it's also comparing it, being able to make comparisons. B, which statistic, range, or median is greater and by how much? So again, we need to calculate these. Now the median we already know. The median was 27.5, so we don't need to do that again. The range is the biggest minus the smallest. The biggest number was 57 minus the smallest was 16. And 57 minus 16 is 41. So again, which of these is greater? Well, in this case, the range is greater. By how much? Well, we want to do 41 minus the smaller number. So 41 minus 27.5 is 13.5. And that's the answer. When you're reading the problems, it's really important in word problems to go through, and I always underline the important words. This could have said lesser or smaller, and that would totally change my answer because the median is the smaller number. So it's very important to read carefully, to read this multiple times. All right, the last part here. How many points would LeBron need to score in his next game to make his average 30 points per game for the 9-game period? So right now we have 8 games. He's played 8. What would he need in the 9th game? Now, we don't need to add up everything again. So let's think about it this way. First of all, what do we need to get total? If he wants an average of 30 for 9 games, that's like getting 30, 30, 30, 30 9 times. Now, without writing it down, an easy way to calculate it is 9 games, 30 points a game. Just multiply. So his total needs to be 270. We don't need to go through and add up all the games again because we've already done that for the first 8 games. We already know his total so far is 235. So he's scored 235 points so far, but he's going to play one more game. How much does he need to score? So 235 plus X to get him the total of 270. Here's an equation. Let's move the constant 235 by subtracting it. That's 0, which leaves us X equals, and that is 35. So in his 9th game, his next game, he needs to score 35 points. And then he'll have his average of 30 per game. And that is the end of the notes.